Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you a new feature for Viewfinder add-ons. What this update gives you is give you the ability to preview camera inside the viewport. So to use this feature, first you go to the top right side and you will see this camera icon appear. So if I turn this on, and first of all I need to turn on my overlay first, and I need to move out of my camera view, and you will see that there will be a preview on the bottom left side of your viewport. So let's go to the option because there are some options that you will need to know when using this add-on. So first is the target. So you can choose both active object or scene camera. By default it's on both. That means that if you are not selecting any camera, it will show the scene camera. It will show the current scene camera. But if you select any camera, it will show that camera instead. So let me just, so I select the camera, it's going to show that camera. So it's a bit slow inside the rendered view, so let me just go to the solid view. And so the preview is going to preview whatever mode is inside your viewport. So if you have overlay, it will show the overlay. If you are in rendered mode, it will show the rendered, but it will not show cycles render. That's a limitation. Now if I turn the show overlays off, it will hide the camera preview, but you can prevent this by turning obey hide overlay off. And now you can see the preview without the overlay. The next one is active object. So if I choose active object, it will hide the preview if no camera is selected, but if you select a camera, it will show the camera. This only shows the active camera and it doesn't show the selected camera. You need to make the camera that you want to see active. And the next one is scene camera. So it will always show the scene camera even if you select any camera. The next one is the resolution. So the resolution is what resolution it's going to render this preview at. So it's going to render at the render settings. So if you go to properties, it's going to take this value, your resolution X and Y, and downscale the resolution. So it's going to render at 25% of this resolution. And it's going to put it in here, and then it's going to scale itself based on the viewport size. So if I can turn this lower, and you can see that it's getting pixelated. I can turn this to 100%, then it's going to preview it at 100% of whatever you set inside the resolution. Now by default it's on 25%, and I think that's a good number. And do know that if you change this value, it's going to make the preview missing. All you need to do is just move your mouse inside the viewport and it will be just fine. The next one is hide preview in camera view. So what this does is if you view the camera, it will hide the preview. And if you go out of camera view, it will show back the preview. But if you turn this off, if you go to the camera preview, the preview will still be on. This is on by default since you're already viewing the camera, so I don't think you need to see the preview. So that is on by default. And we already talked about the obey or hide overlay. The next one is display camera name. So this is just hiding the text in here. If you just want to see the camera preview without looking at the camera name or the type of camera it is. I'm just going to turn it on, and you can change the color of the font if you want. And you can change the offset, which is like how far away is it from the preview. Note that this offset, the unit is the font size. So if you choose 2, it's going to be the size of the font at 1. So it's going to move up by 1 font size. That means that if I increase the font size, you can see that the space down here is basically the same. So now we go to the font size, which is the font size. And this minimum value is actually not 0. It's a minimum, it's a soft cap. That means that you can type in a value if you want. And max, that's also a soft max. So you can set a value yourself if you want to. The next one is the width. So by default it's on relative and 0.25. That means that it is 25% of your viewport screen. So let's say I split this screen. You can see that it's 25% of the width of the screen. So if I make this bigger, this is going to be bigger. If I make it smaller, it's going to be smaller. So it's always going to be 25% of the editor screen. So let's say I make this 0.5, then it's going to be half of the viewport. And if I put this to 1, then it's going to be the full size of the viewport. So by default it's on 0.25, which I think is the best number. And you have absolute, that means this is based on pixels, so you can set it by pixels. So if I want like 1000 pixels, then it's going to be 1000 pixels. Even if I resize the window, it will still stay at 1000 pixels. Let me just change that to relative. The next one is the offset. And the offset is basically the position of this preview. By default, it's also set on relative and it's on 0.1. That means that the origin of this preview is on bottom left. So it's based on this point and this point. This is the ratio. So 0.1, that means it's 10% up, 10% right. So if I put this to 0.5 and 0.5, that means that this bottom left is going to be at the center of the screen. This is for relative, and for absolute, it's just going to be pixel value. So I can set this to like 1000 and 1000. It's going to be at that position. If I split the screen, you can see that it's going to just stay there. And because the width is still in relative, so it's still scale. But if I set this to absolute, then it's going to just stay at whatever that is. I'm just going to set both to relative and set this to 0.1 and 0.1. And the next one is the border thickness. So you can set the border thickness here. And you can set the color of the border. And you have an activate color. So if you press Control, you will activate this and you can click on it. So if I click it, you will view the camera. So if I select this, okay, that's the same camera. So if I select, I need to change this to both. If I select this and I control click, I'm going to view the camera. Control click, view the camera. So that is the activate color. So that is basically all the options of this add-on. And let me just reset that. Viewfinder, if I turn this off and turn that back on. Now it is default settings. So you can quickly adjust your camera this way. You can duplicate this camera and change another view. You can go to rendered mode. So yeah, I can see this camera, I can see this camera, I can see this camera. Now it's going to be quite slow if you are in rendered mode, so it's better if you just do it inside the solid mode. And one big limitation in this add-on is that if you go to cycles, and if you go to rendered, it will not show that, unfortunately. But it will show in solid mode, it will show in my material preview, wireframe. It just won't show cycles inside the preview.